For most of my childhood, I had very little access to computers. My first experiences were on my home computer, where I had a couple crappy disc games that I hardly ever played. I much preferred playing on my GameCube, where I had simple to understand controller layouts and easy to load up and play games. Just put the disc in and turn it on. It wasn't really until I started to learn to type in school that I decided to snoop around on the computer and I discovered cool math games. If you're from some world where you're unaware of cool math games, it's essentially the ultimate unblocked game site where you can play a ton of awesome Flash games. It's pretty much designed to allow kids to trick their teachers into thinking that you're playing educational games. This was my introduction to playing games on computers. For the rest of my elementary school career, I pretty much just stuck to playing consoles, not only because I was stupid, but also I didn't really have any access to a computer at all. My dad sold our home computer pretty early on, so it's not like I really got to experiment with it. I remember playing Flash games on my grandma's computer every once in a while when I'd go over to her house, but other than that, I didn't really have anything else until middle school. Now, when I got into middle school, I made a lot of new friends, and one of them just so happened to have a PC, and it was like top of the line, new, everything. It was a really impressive PC setup to see, and honestly, I was super jealous. This is when I started to get into the PC building genre of videos on YouTube. I would watch them for hours every day, and eventually I just started acting like I was one of them. I knew a lot more about computers than some other people did, but I definitely wasn't smart enough to build my own computer, and I for sure could not tell you what RAM was or what a graphics card actually did. I just knew that they needed to be plugged into the computer for it to work. So obviously, after this, I really wanted a computer. And for a long time, my dad said that it would be a very bad idea, not only because they're expensive, but because he didn't really think that I was ready for full access to the internet on my own like that. This is around the time that I kind of started making games on Scratch. My current Scratch profile is from like late middle school, early high school, so it doesn't have all of my super early stuff, but I definitely don't want to make my older games from my original profile public because it's really embarrassing. This was all on a school Chromebook, which is essentially the most watered down version of a PC you could possibly have. Now at this point, I was able to go over to a couple friends' houses. The friend that lived next door to me had a computer, and so did his older brother. And I remember seeing him play Minecraft on it, and just wondering how it worked on a keyboard. Obviously, I was very accustomed to controller at this time. I played every game with a controller. I had no reason to ever try out a mouse and keyboard. So this is when I really got into the idea of building myself a computer that I could use. I didn't really have much money. I definitely didn't have enough money to build my own computer from scratch, so I ended up going to Walmart and buying an HP Pavilion gaming PC. And that computer constantly wanted to light itself on fire. So with this PC, I decided that I was going to use its parts to build my own. Now, I originally thought that I could just take out pretty much every part of it and put it in its own motherboard and its own case, but that turned out to be way more difficult, as almost every single aspect of that computer is proprietary. I remember being really upset with the fact that I would essentially have to buy almost every new part because none of it was compatible with an actual computer that I would build myself. This is a big problem I have with the PC environment, is that a lot of pre-built PCs that you can buy are just not compatible with other parts. I ended up splurging and buying almost all of the parts at once when I had saved up enough money, and I managed to put almost the entire thing together in a single night. This is when I truly learned how to build a PC. I have notoriously bad luck, and I remember the first time I turned on my PC and it just booted to the menu, I was amazed. I couldn't believe that it had actually worked. It was something I never thought would happen. Where was I? Oh, shoot. Building PCs is really something that I want to go on with later in my life. It's honestly the job that I would like to have, is building and fixing people's computers. The biggest problem that I have with PC personally is the choices you get for operating systems. Obviously, macOS isn't really available on a custom-built PC unless you're a whiz, which is, totally fine. I understand that people have put Mac OS onto PCs, but it just seems kind of silly to me, and I don't really want to use the Apple OS just because of how restrictive and honestly awful to use it is. And I'm really not going to use Linux because I don't want to screw myself over and over again trying to get it to work. I would rather just have an OS that works when I use it. And that just happens to be Windows 10. Windows 11 is something that I don't really want to get into. It's probably better to talk about in another video. Windows 10 is my operating system of choice. I haven't really had any problems with compatibility trying to use it. My biggest problem is that it tends to be buggy and wants to use a lot more of my CPU and RAM than I'd really like it to. But honestly, my gripes with PC really end there. I don't have a lot of personal problems or issues with it. It tends to just work when I want it to. Now, you may be wondering how switching to PC affected my relationship with consoles. At first, after I got my PC, I continued to use my PS4 and Nintendo consoles almost the exact same amount as I had before. But over time, especially as I've upgraded my PC, I've realized just how much better it is. The reason I say this is because a few months back, I bought a PS5, and it is one of the biggest regrets that I have made financially because I never play it. I haven't turned it on in weeks. I don't have any reason to play it because there's no exclusive games. And a lot of the games that I want to play on PC are just not on PS5. PC opens up a whole new world for you to do anything you want. I've made tons of friends just using my computer, not even through gaming, just through using it in general. Making videos is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and having a PC really allows me to do that. On PC, games tend to go on sale all the time. It's something that I really appreciate because not everyone has the money to spend. Whereas on console, not only do you have to pay full price for the games 99% of the time, but you have to pay a yearly subscription that is usually way more than it's worth just to play the games with your friends online. A few people say that console is better because you can just turn the console on, put the game in, and it will work. Now, I would agree if it were 2005. The problem is that anymore, even if you have a disc for the game, which supposedly has the entire game downloaded on it, the moment you put that disc into the console, it has to do a 500 gigabyte update. For someone with insanely slow internet, that is unbelievable. Games continually come out in a more and more unfinished state, and to buy a disc that doesn't even have the full game on it, where I have to do a download anyway, kind of negates the point of buying the disc at all. At least with Nintendo consoles, I can pop the cartridge in and it just turns on and works. I might have to do a small download, but usually Nintendo Switch downloads finish within 30 seconds, whereas I've had PS5 downloads that have gone on for over a week. And that's not an exaggeration. I would leave my PS5 on for days after I bought it just to try to download a game's update when I already had the physical disc. People say that on PC it's worse because you can't have any physical games. You used to be able to, but not really anyone uses that anymore. With Steam, you can easily download and manage all of your games, and there's not any downsides to having it like this. Sure, you can buy more storage on your PC, but you don't have to pay a monthly subscription for that. You go to the store and buy a hard drive and put it in your computer, and you can download more games. And yes, you do have to download everything, but adding more storage to a computer is much more simple than to a console. My personal favorite thing about PC, though, is the ability to upgrade it. When a new console comes out, you have to just buy it. You can't upgrade your old one. That's just not how it works. With Nintendo consoles, that's usually okay. I tend to not have a problem with that because Nintendo has gimmicks or innovations that otherwise wouldn't have been possible on the previous console. But PC seems to sit in a little bit of a purgatory where there's not really any new gimmicks per generation. It's just some new helpful features that you might want. And instead of having to replace everything, you can simply take out a part, put the new one in, and sell the old one if you really want. PC is just a much more customizable experience, and for someone who really wants to take control of their system, it's extremely nice. Hey, thanks for watching. I just wanted to plug this a little bit at the end here to say that I actually started a Patreon. I already have one member, who I'll put their name here. Thank you very much, I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to join, there will be a link in the description down below. Anyway, yeah, cool. Like the video, subscribe, and talk about it in the comments, or join the Discord and talk to me there because I'm probably going to be much more active there. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and bye-bye.